Hola amigos, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you haven't been here before, my name is Emma Bennet. I'm a UK-based writer, usually of contemporary romance, sometimes Regency romance, sometimes children's picture books, and the odd non-fiction book for writers. I'm also a freelance developmental editor, a book coach, and a creative writing instructor. And one of the things that I do on this channel is I like to talk about social media for writers, so much so that I have an entire playlist of videos about this topic, which I will link down in the description below. Now, today I decided that I needed a little bit of help because we are going to be tackling the topic of Threads, which is a relatively new social media. And honestly, I don't really know very much about it. I was reluctant to join it, but my guest here actually convinced me to. And by convinced, I mean nagged me until I gave in. So my guest is my friend Martin Lejeune. Martin is one half of the writing duo which makes up Bradley Lejeune, and he has just published the third book in the McMurdo Rift series. It is it is a space opera series, and it is completely awesome. Martin, would you like to introduce yourself any more than I just have?
I am Martin Lejeune. I'm one half of Bradley Lejeune. This is all burned into my brain and having to improvise.
Yeah, you just have to do it, don't you?
But yeah, I've been writing for, I think the first book was published coming up 2 years ago. And I've been behind all the marketing of that and trying everything, see what works. Mm-hmm. And obviously it's been an interesting time. There's been something of a Twitter implosion that has left something of a social media power struggle, much like Eastern Europe after the fall of the Soviet Union. And I'm not saying it's in any way your fault, but it did all come about as soon as you wrote your guide to Twitter.
I know, it's completely true. Yeah, it was my fault. I'm sorry.
And it would seem that similar disaster has befallen NaNoWriMo. So please, no more guidebooks from you.
I hadn't realized that, but yes, in fact, I did write a book on how to win NaNoWriMo, and then there was the whole controversy and excitement over that last year. So yeah, my books are clearly cursed. So Threads is pretty recent. How long has it been going? A year, 2 years most?
Yeah, Threads launched last July, so it hasn't even been going for a year. And it's the same company does Instagram, WhatsApp, Facebook. So you can actually just use your Instagram login if you've got one of those.
But I think you have. Do you have to have Instagram as well as Threads?
I don't believe so. Obviously, there's some problems with one company owning all the social medias. I think there was an outage about a year or so ago. But what are you going to do?
So the way I see it, and this is the way that I saw it when you were nagging me to get an account.
I feel nag is an exaggeration.
There was nagging. I have evidence. So okay, so you've got Twitter. Now, Twitter, I can definitely see the point of, from a point of view, if you are trying to get an agent, if you're trying to get a publisher, general publishing news, and also I think more if you're a writer of kind of thrillers and things like that, I think that can work very well as a social media there. Facebook tends to have a slightly older audience. It's good for groups if you're wanting to, join a community of writers, or if you're wanting to generally share stuff in groups. Instagram it's pretty, that's why I like it. There's very little kind of drama and politics, and that's what works for me as a romance writer. And then obviously, like, you've got other ones, but if we're talking about the main social medias, so why do we need Threads? It seems to me like it's just a really rubbish version of Twitter, honestly. It seems very basic. And
well, the thing is, Twitter is now a rubbish version of Twitter. So many people have left over the last year. It's a completely different community now, and they killed TweetDeck, and TweetDeck was like this plugin that let you have lots of different lists you were following, and you could just jump between them and schedule posts, and it was glorious. What a time to be alive. So you had a lot of people who were looking to go to new places, and you had like Mastodon, and you had to create servers and join servers, and it was just too technical for me, and I'm moderately technical. You got Blue Skies, which is very similar, but it doesn't really have the same algorithm that makes Threads work, which Threads basically does what every other social media claim to do. I can post something book related, and I'll get replies from people who I've got no contact with, just being like, I like books, I have an opinion. And that's what really makes it work for me. I joined Blue Sky, and I spent a morning following people, talking to people. I got some likes, and I got a couple of replies, but not much. And I, found I was just getting followers on Threads. It works quite like TikTok, where if you come in and you say, I'm about books, then it will understand that and will put you in with all the other people who are there about books. And like, if someone's having a conversation about do you prefer matte covers or gloss, and someone you follow replies, then that will be put in your feed. And so it keeps it very in the subject that you're following. And there's been a trend in people just posting, hello algorithm, I'm interested in, and then like a list of 5 or 10 bullet points. And you'll just see this pop up in your feed because it will have identified you as, liking sci-fi or liking books or liking romance. And that's what this person saying they're wanting more of.
Sure. But why do they have to make it so that when I'm trying to share things on Instagram, it's so easy to press the wrong button and it takes you to Threads? This is my main issue with the whole system, honestly.
So this is a really good point, and I'm glad you've raised it. When any sort of social media company, are pushing a new project, it can be a really good idea to jump on it just because they're trying to push it, so they'll push you as a response. And a lot of Threads growth will have been from that. So by posting on Threads, your posts will pop up in people's Instagram feeds, and that will help people find out about your books.
Okay. But how many people are actually on Threads? Because I was just going to make the joke that I have said it's you and it's Richard. I've just opened up my Threads to find out how many followers I've got, and what's come up straight away is Richard asking whether people like pineapple on pizza. So that kind of proves my point, I feel. How many is it actually worth it? Are there that many users on there? Because I don't know anybody who's that enamored with it, honestly, apart from the love that you feel for Threads. I do appreciate that.
I would say, whilst it's not got anywhere near the numbers that Twitter had, 2 years ago, the people who are there are very, you can find very specific interests. and there's an advantage to that rather than shouting into the void. Like, I never really got many connections from Twitter, just from, you know, posting, hey, do you prefer ebooks or print books? You know, if I post that on Twitter, the only people going to reply are like my followers, whereas I've had people arguing over that for days on threads.
Oh, I mean, like looking at my account now, I've posted twice. And I think both of those times was probably a mistake, honestly, and I just pressed the button by mistake. But I have 517 followers. I mean, obviously, I'm not getting interaction and things with them because I'm not posting on it. But that's a decent number of followers for someone who doesn't use it. Like I set up the account because, like I say,
Yeah, it'll be pulling your followers from Instagram, and if they're on threads, it will connect you.
Oh, okay, fair enough. So it's not that good. That's just because I've got followers on Instagram. Fair enough. So are there any particular genres of books that you think Threads works better for? Obviously, you write sci-fi, you write space opera. Do you think that is a genre that just works particularly well on Threads, or do you think it doesn't really matter? Like any books would do potentially well on there?
I don't know that there's like a genre that particularly does well, but I do see a lot of romance authors.
Okay, because I always think that they use Instagram because our books
but
are
then
so
Instagram's pushing them over to Threads, so
yeah, I suppose.
you know, and there does seem to be a lot of like fantasy, urban fantasy, that kind of stuff as well. But then those are genres that are some of the most popular sales-wise, so it makes sense that there'll be a lot of authors as well.
So what should writers be sharing on Threads in particular, do you think? Because I know, because you've told me you've had proper success with, like you say, with meeting new people, but also with selling books via Threads. So what should people be sharing on there, and does that differ from what people should be sharing on other social media platforms?
It's like a combination of, you want to appeal to readers and writers, because obviously if you're appealing to readers, you're getting the book in front of your audience. If you're appealing to authors, it gives you a chance to network. You know, I've met people who I've done critique swaps with, and you know, help people, you know, find beta readers and that sort of thing. So, you know, your writing should show your passion, and, you know, if you're reading your genre, if you're watching films in your genre, TV shows, post about that, and you will find people who are interested in it, and at the same time find people who are writing in it, and that will help the algorithm establish what's, you know, what you're about and how to put more people like that in front of you.
Okay. Would you recommend? I mean, like I say, I've hardly used it. Can you share video content on there, or is it more simple than that? Is it just kind of pictures and words?
You can like, I've uploaded TikTok videos to it before. It's not really about that, but it lets you do that. You can post images and GIFs, but it is mainly text.
It's more about the conversation, if you like, than the kind of the images. Although, like, what I like about Instagram is it's just so pretty with all the nice images and things.
Yeah. But they actually complement each other quite well, because at one point, like Instagram and TikTok were trying to include sort of more text, and it just kind of, you know, rubbed up against a wall, and, you know, didn't really work for either of them. Whereas Instagram, sort of having threads as a complement to it, works quite nicely.
Yeah. Okay. So you've got one which is more kind of like pretty, and then one that's more almost cerebral. But so obviously, like we all know that on social media, although we are wanting to promote our work, you know, you don't just put buy my book, buy my book, buy my book, buy my book. So knowing that it's mainly about the text on Threads rather than the pretty pictures, how do you go about showing off your books on there without, you know, being able to make such a big deal out of the covers? And I know that you've done quite a lot of stories and reels on Instagram showing off spaceships and things like that. So how does it differ on Threads?
The thing that works really well is if you can come up with like a 1 or 2 line hook for your story that just explains what it is in a really succinct manner. Like on mine, I put, you know, a fighter pilot, his ex-wife, her missing husband, a mysterious alien race. And, you know, it's just should hook the reader immediately. The other thing you get a lot of is people do share images, and you get it a lot on Instagram, where you've got the book cover surrounded by different tropes with arrows pointing.
Yeah.
A lot of that going around at the moment.
Sure. I think that can be really helpful for readers too. Not only are they hooked by the cover, which is hopefully, you know, genre specific and looks all lovely, but also it's giving them a nice, easy view of what the book's about, and hopefully you'll hook them with one of those tropes as well. So I think that's quite a clever idea, and something that I definitely want to be doing more of.
It's funny. It feels a few years ago that people were just accusing anyone that used the trope word of just being a hack, and you know, just using, you know, writing, you know, paint by numbers writing and what have you. And suddenly, at some point, readers discovered it, and it's like they've got a list, and it's like, yes, I'll have one of Enemy Lovers, please. Have you got any of that?
Yeah, but it's because people are just getting lazier and lazier, isn't it? You know, we're used to sitting there and being entertained, constantly flicking through reels or TikToks or whatever, and we want to get our entertainment easily and quickly and not be wasting any time. So we want to know, okay, you know, this is what I like. Is it in this book?
I'm sure you didn't just call your readers lazy. I think you meant to say
Your
readers
readers,
just
not
getting
mine. No, people in
awesomer.
general. Stop trying to get me into trouble. People in general. Everybody's become lazier. I've always been lazy, but everybody has become lazier. Thanks to the wonders of the internet. You know it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you agreed with me, really. So I guess in response to this, I probably, for the rest of the month or something, should be taking what you've said into account and seeing what I can do with my threads and doing
I think if you take what you learned from Twitter and implement it on Threads, and, you know, sort of pivot as needed with, you know, how people, you know, react to it, I think you'll find, you know, probably similar growth, if not more so. Because, you know, I used to find that on Twitter, the only thing that really would get your follower count up was things like follow, unfollow, which isn't great practice at the best of times. And, you know, Threads, I'll just be like, I just like, well, hey, there's a Babylon 5 Blu-ray, and suddenly I'll have 10 more followers. And it will be people who like Babylon 5 and reading sci-fi books, and not just, you know, someone who's looking for a follow back.
Sure. It sounds like it's a nice little community. It'll be interesting to see what happens as it grows.
A lot of people have commented that it's a lot more positive than a lot of other social medias, and you know, whether that will last or not, you know, who's to say? But for right now, it's a really friendly place.
The thing is, all of these different social medias, a lot of the rules about what you do on them are exactly the same. You know, don't just promote your stuff all the time. Make sure that you use appropriate hashtags. You know, all of that kind of thing is the same across the board, which is what makes it quite easy to cross post which is something, I mean, what do you think about cross-posting? I know I do it a lot purely as a time saver for me, because I don't have time to individually make content for the different social media platforms. Is that something that you do, that you would encourage, or do you try to do individual things?
No, I definitely cross-post where I can. When I was in my launch week, I was posting 3 TikToks a day, but I wasn't like I shared that on Instagram and Facebook, but I only put them on. I put a couple of reels up on Threads, and they got good reactions, but I didn't want to do too much.
Right. You didn't kind of want to push it to that side of it. You were happy with kind of the more conversation, like organically growing. Yeah. Okay. Okay, cool. All right. Well, thank you so much, Martin, for joining me today. I cannot say that I'm completely convinced, but that is mainly because I don't know about you, but I just feel I cannot take on any more social medias. I'm done. What I kind of want is just one all-encompassing that does everything that I need. And I'm fed up of all the different apps. But I am willing to try it properly. And I say here that I will take what you've said into account, and I will try to grow my following on Threads. And I will make a video letting you know how it turns out. Is that fair enough?
That's very exciting. I'm very excited for you. And I will be posting a video on my channel, sort of going into a bit more detail on some of the things I've said.
Yes, and I will make sure that when that video is out, that I link it down in the description below so that people can go and check that out as well. So thank you very, very much for watching this discussion. I hope that it has been useful. If you use Threads, or you have been considering it, or you really don't want to, let us know down in the comments below. It would be lovely to hear your thoughts on this. Please remember to boot the like button if you haven't already, and subscribe if you're not, because we have a lot of fun here, as you can see. And yeah, bye for now. I'll catch you in the next one. And thank you again, Martin.
Thanks for having me.